What would you say to someone who said yes to something and now they're suffering? Yes to a marriage, yes to a job, yes to an experience, and it turned out horrible, and they feel bad. They feel like if someone died, someone passed away. Like there's so many tragedies happening on just in a city, let alone a county or in a state. And there's
Yeah.
people listening to us who have said yes to things that turned out bad. And it does happen, right? Bad things happen to good people. What
Mhm.
would you say to them? And what would you say to someone who said no and now is missing out on opportunity? They're
Yeah.
full of regrets, they're full of remorse. What's your message to them as we wrap this up?
I say, God's not done with you. He still has plans for you, like he promised, plans to prosper you, to give you hope in the future, not to harm you. God never intends to harm. And sometimes we mistake his discipline for harm. And sometimes we mistake his refinement for harm or neglect. And that's not God's heart or his will. And if you miss an opportunity, said no to an opportunity that you should have said yes to, God is going to come back or bring you back around to that point where you got off. The reason you missed that opportunity is not about the opportunity, it's about the disposition of your heart and your focus when that moment presented itself. So the first thing you need to do is correct the heart and the focus. And God's going to give you there'll be another opportunity to say yes, and be ready to say yes. And then for those of us that have said yes, like I have, when we weren't supposed to, or we said yes and maybe we were supposed to, but it didn't turn out the way we anticipated. God's not done with that either. He makes rivers in the desert, ways in the desert, streams in the desert. He says, I'm doing a new thing, do not perceive it. Like I said earlier, for me, I said yes to something and God was like, hey, you said yes because you were holding on to an old vision, an old dream, old desires, but I'm doing something new. And I'm even the ashes, God gives us beauty. That scripture that says he gives beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. That is all still true. And that is the God that you can trust and lean on. And so go deeper into him so that we get to know who he is and who we are to be in light of that, who he's created us to be and what he's called us to in this season.